Hi, I'm BrianVee, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking to you today with Lani Thomas. Lani Thomas and I met last year when we were both endeavoring to take a Teach Now certification program out of the United States. We're both ESL teachers, or I am at least, and she is working in a school, an international school in China, and I'm in Korea. And we've been partners for this whole time. And I'm very excited to speak with her. And I actually have her right now. So I'm going to let her in and we're going to begin the conversation with Lani Thomas. This is BrianVee at Why We Work, and today, as I just mentioned, I have the great pleasure of speaking to you today with Miss Lani Thomas. Good evening, young
Hello.
lady.
Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Well, I just said you put me on a time restraint, and I said that you were all dolled up and looking like you were ready to go out, and that's why you were putting me on a time restraint. But what was the real reason why you were on a time restraint?
I am doing my master's, and tonight is my last online session. So I'm almost done. I'm so excited. Cannot wait to be finished.
See, in the introduction, I just mentioned that you and I had met last year through the Teach Now graduate school program. We were doing the certification program, and we had been partners through the whole thing. We bobbed and weaved through modules,
Yes.
but we were there side by side through the whole thing. But
And I have to say to your viewers, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you.
no, you're
Brian
okay.
is amazing. Brian is amazing. He is so on it. He's a great partner to have. Even if you feel like overwhelmed, he is there for you. He's willing to pick up the slack. I just want to say thank you to Brian because he is phenomenal.
Well, they
You
can't see me waving my finger. No, you
are.
were a great. No, and I was just going to say, but it seems like it's a contradiction or going against you. I was going to say, and you were crazy enough to keep going. And you're in the master's program. You were doing a master's
Yes.
program at the same time of the certification program.
Yes.
So how is that? Like, I think from what I know, because you and I talk on occasion,
Mhm.
that you're nearing the end, no?
Yes.
Because we finished our program
Honestly,
a few months ago.
how is it? Okay, so I went into the master's program right after the certification program because I knew that if I took a break, it might take me forever to never to get back to it. So I'm like, well, while I'm on this role, let me just do it, finish it, get those credentials so I can demand better pay, better benefits, etc., etc. Um, the
How's
program
it
has been
going?
challenging.
Yeah.
It's been challenging. I'm disappointed in it. I don't, because my focus is teaching multilingual learners,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very ESL focused. I'm like, yes, I'm an English teacher, and yes, I do teach ESL, but I want to like to become better at teaching multilingual learners.
Yeah.
And it's just the program itself isn't well conceived or well carried out, and I think the instructor is not that well informed.
So
And as a teacher myself, I can judge
it's
other
tough. We're the
teachers.
worst,
Like,
eh? We're
I
going
know,
through
yeah,
those modules. We're like, this instruct not against the program in particular, but as a teacher, we're looking at these people like,
yes.
how well are
I
they
mean, you can,
teaching us?
exactly, but you can be, you can look at a program with like, no, it's more the program than the teacher,
Hmm.
or it's more the teacher than the program, or it's a combination of both. And great teachers or instructors can have a poor program but still make it
Yeah,
useful and relevant.
yeah.
And unfortunately, my instructor, and I'm always emailing, I'm always advocating for myself, always. But it's not fun. It's like I shouldn't have to advocate for myself. This shouldn't be an issue, especially when I'm bound to be in the right. But that's all I will say about that. What I will say is I have like doing my thesis project
Uh-huh.
was very useful to me. I found it very interesting. Hearing about others' thesis projects very interesting. So yes, I have learned something.
Yeah,
I wish that overall it was more. It was more,
yeah.
especially since I'm paying for it.
Yeah,
Like
they're
once
not
you
cheap
pay for
programs.
it,
They're not
yeah.
cheap programs.
No.
So before we get into what you do and maybe some aspirations you have by getting all of this education, and you're not even talking about your other education that you had before this is just something you're doing while traveling overseas. While some
Yes.
other teachers may not be so eager to venture into higher education, but you surely are. Lani, what was your first job? Your very first job. And I was talking to someone today and I said, what's your first job? And he said something in high school. And I said, you know, basically you didn't try to make any money before that. So, oh no, I did some other things. But what was the first time that you know, ventured out to try to make a dollar, whether, however small it was?
What do you mean by venture out? You mean the first time I was offered money to complete a task? Is that a job?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's work.
Because
It's work. I mean, that's what I
my
like
mother,
to, yeah,
my mother paid us to read.
that
So I guess
works.
that was my first job. No, I remember when she was getting us to read, and I just like for my master's program, I read about this recently,
Hmm.
so it's fresh.
Yeah.
But um, it was before we started grade school. We didn't like to read. Like, what's the point? We're not gonna have to read when we grow up.
Yeah. Hmm.
So she offers like $5 per chapter of a chapter book, and we'd have to
I would like that now.
yeah,
I
I
would.
know, right?
Give me $5 for a chapter. That's pretty
And
good
she'd
money.
quiz us on what it was about.
Oh, I wouldn't want
And
that.
so my sister and I, like I have an older brother as well, so it's the three of us. My
Hmm.
sister and I really got into it. We'd like pick up those chapter books, we'd start reading. She'd quiz us on them, and she'd give us the money. And we're like, well, we don't have anything to spend it on right now, so can you just keep it for us? So she kept the money for us. Um, but by the end of that first year, we were avid readers. Like we were going through books like they were water. And I remember when I was 16, I was like, so mom, I know what I want to spend my money on now. Where's all that book money? It's like in the thousands. It's like, no. I'm keeping that. I feed you, I fed you, I
Oh
clothe
no,
you,
she
your
pulled
roof
that one
over
on
your
you.
head. Yeah. But by that time, I was a reader.
You
So
you probably yeah, I mean that was the whole point of it. We did it here. I tried it with like math facts for my kids. I think I
mhm.
said I'd give you, I don't know, $1 for every math fact that they got right on it, like out of a set of them.
Nice. Nice.
Um, I only paid my son so far, and my daughter asks every once in a while, "Hey, Dad, when's my Papa? When's my test?" She might be listening now, and she may ask me soon. But it's true though. When you get to the end of it, then you're the reader, and then you probably realize, that's why she was doing it, and you probably read a couple things that say, yeah, your mom is actually supporting you, and there's a lot of money going into that. What was the first job that you got after that, like as a job, or making money again, still doing something?
The one that I remember, again, through my mom.
Yeah.
My mom worked for the embassy. We grew up overseas, and embassies would hire interns over the summer, right? And so when we were 16, I think I was the youngest they would hire. Me,
Mhm.
I don't remember how old I was,
Mhm.
15, 16. She filled out the applications for my sister and I. She
Mhm.
filled them out. She submitted
Yeah.
them. That was my first job, interning with the embassy over the summer. I was, I forget the division I was in. It was, I think, not the something close to the mailroom, picking up packages, placing them someplace. It was fine.
So Lonnie, you tell like, the audience, where are you originally from?
U.S. I'm American, but I was born overseas because my
Okay.
mom, like I said, was
Yeah.
a diplomat. So my brother's the eldest. He was born in Washington, and
Hmm.
my mom DC. My mom was planning to go back for my birth, but we were premature. And surprise, we're twins.
I didn't know
So
you were a twin.
yeah, she didn't know at the time either that she was
Oh well,
having
then I don't feel so
twins.
bad. I didn't know in order
Yeah,
to
the
be.
doctor was like, wait a minute, something else is going on here. And then a little while, 20 minutes later, hello,
So
world.
where were you born? Where were you born overseas? My
Um,
daughter was born overseas too.
the Ivory Coast.
There's a nice place to be born. So as
Is
I know of,
it?
well,
I
it
don't know about
depends.
that.
To be born, maybe.
I don't know. I'm not sure about the healthcare there.
So as I know of you, you spent most of your life How has that life been to be a diplomat's daughter or child
Mhm.
and traveling all throughout many places?
You get used to saying hello and goodbye to people. I mean, it affects people differently. For me, I just do it well. For other people, I know it's like very, very difficult for them. I think nowadays it's different with the internet, Facebook, all these social media platforms. But when I was younger,
Yeah,
because I'm a millennial, we didn't like really get internet until I was in high school.
yeah,
But when I was younger, you left someplace, you probably were not gonna see that person ever again. Yeah, you could be pen pals. I knew some people who were really good at that, but I know myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, keep that up.
see you later.
It's not me.
Gotta go.
Exactly, exactly. Um, but I didn't really appreciate childhood until I was an adult and I had to learn how to travel for myself, my own dime. Then I really appreciated my childhood experience.
How many different places did you have to move through your, I guess, teens and early childhood?
Let me see. 25, including the US, that'd be 6.
And your family was together most of those times, so it was kind of a family trip everywhere you
Yes,
went.
yes.
What's most difficult? Like besides the saying goodbye, like what for you is there like culture shock? Like where were you going? What, people warming up to you, you warming up to other people? How did you perceive that growing up?
For me, the hardest move was coming back to the States
Hmm.
because growing up overseas, usually my family was the only black family in any school, and maybe there was another black family, but it was usually just us. But it was fine. Like we are just people.
Yeah.
But moving back to the States, especially to the South, oh my gosh, the racism is alive and well, and to experience it. Why do you talk to a white girl? I'm like, what? I just talk like me. And my first day back at a school in South Carolina, a race riot broke out. And I'm like, where am I? What year is this? So moving back to the States and trying and like having to learn where your place is and everything, that was the most difficult.
Isn't that
Because like
strange? Yeah.
every summer we'd go home, right? Because my mom, like I'd get ignorant mom, I'm like, I have friends who are in a room or Australia or yachting here or there. Yeah, we have to go to the States every summer. Yeah, right. And my mom's like, because you're American, you have to learn your culture and blah 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 blah. But went to we go home. But like we'd be with family and we'd be in these like supportive communities. So it wasn't so I guess I didn't really get to see the larger United States. So when we actually moved back as a junior in high school,
Mhm.
and then to the South, and you're in the wide environment, like, oh wow, there was so much I didn't see growing up, and I don't think I like this.
It's very strange. I never heard that. I mean, I've experienced that because like I'm in Korea and we don't see, say, racism, however it may come. It comes in many shapes and sizes,
Yes,
as much as you do as you are in North America. So I think the good thing about North America is it's diverse. But the problem is you're going to have people who are not going to be so diverse and not want to be opposed to people in other countries, right? Like you're working in China, I'm working in Korea. Many other countries just go on living their lives as normal. But in North America, you're going to have people who tend to separate. And then it's going to be, you have to be for or against. And it's not something we're used to. It's not something that you see in other places so obviously.
I don't know. I think it's also culture, like
Mm,
the North American culture, like the founding of America. That's how it was found. Those are the systems. Those are people who
yeah,
were taught, and that's kind of it's perpetuated through the schooling and everything. So I think in different places, like the culture between different people from different ethnicities is different.
yeah.
So it is culture as well,
So
in my opinion.
when did you break free from your mom and the lifestyle of traveling all over the world and decide that you were going to go off on your own and get a job?
I mean, I'm still traveling all over the world to get the you know. Um,
I mean, like
well, when I
from your
moved,
mom to get your own job, your
oh,
own work.
that was in high school, sophomore, junior year. We moved back to the States. Um, um, I was at the mall and I filled out an application form to work at a retail shop, and I got the job. And that's when I got it myself, independently earning my own money. Yeah, and it was a shock when I got my first paycheck. I'm like, what are all these things being taken out? I don't understand. And my mom told me like it's Medicare, what something else, something Social Security. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna have that when I'm older. So can you just, how can I tell the government
I
not?
don't need. They made a
And I
mistake
want it
here. I
back.
don't need that stuff.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want this or this. Like, no, no. She's like, well, I was no, those are coming out. So I remember I was making $5.15 an hour. And I'm like, a lot of that's gone in taxes.
Was
Not
your
quite happy
mom
about that.
stateside at that time, or were you guys just in
Yeah.
between traveling?
No, we moved back to the States permanently that time because my mom planned it so that she would retire in the States.
Okay. So then when did you decide, oh, it's time for me to leave America?
I think I decided that I think I knew I wanted to leave when we moved back. And
Yeah.
after being in the environment for 6 months, I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
But first, I'm like, I gotta get into college
Yeah.
because that'll give me more opportunities. I need to get into on my own dime. I need scholarships because I'm not gonna rely on my parents. So got my scholarship, went to university.
What
I
did you
didn't make
take?
good grades.
What did you think of
Business
taking?
administration.
What were you
Business
hoping to
administration.
do? What were you hoping to do
I
with it?
wasn't really hoping for anything. I'm like, I really didn't. I had my hopes and dreams, and I'm like, can I make money? I love history.
Well, what
I
was
love
your hope and
archaeology.
dream? What was your hope and dream?
Well,
And
I don't know.
you're like, I had my
Indiana
hope and
Jones.
dreams. What were they? What was your hope and dream?
I don't know, like being kind of like an Indiana Jones character, but so history,
Yeah.
archaeology. But I'm like, that doesn't make money. So
You
let
wanted
me
to
be
travel the world
practical.
and dig in some dirt and find some ancient artifacts?
Yeah, and like just I love
Well,
history.
you're
I
still young
just read about.
enough. You can still do that.
We'll see. We'll see. Um,
So you went on to business.
so business, because I'm like, I know I can get a job making money doing that with a minor in Spanish. And then my plan was to always get my master's in something I loved.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't really work out. But yeah, I needed good grades to maintain my scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I worked for about 8 months, I think, for the Department of State as a contractor. And then I'm like, well, I heard about teaching English overseas. I got my TESOL, and I went to China because I wanted to learn Mandarin.
How long ago was this?
I moved to Guangzhou in 2008. I was there from 2008 to 2010. Went to
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan for a year to just study Mandarin on a scholarship. But I got poor again. Went to Shanghai teaching, Middle East, and now I'm back in Shanghai.
So you've been away from the States for
Over a decade.
over 12 years now.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
No.
Don't miss it.
Not at all.
It's an interesting life we live, is it not?
It really is.
Right? We have the freedom of not to worry about the things at our home while at the same time experiencing something new. And
I don't quite agree with that statement because I do about things
what don't you
at
agree with?
home.
So, you say that again?
Like the freedom to not worry about the things at home. I do listen to the news. I do vote. I vote. I absolutely ballot vote all the time
Yeah.
because, America still is my home.
Mm-hmm.
Unless even if I get residency somewhere else or a second passport, fingers crossed, something like that will happen. I still have cousins I love in America, family member I love in America, and I want the best for them. So no, and even when I was in Qatar 2016, 2018. teaching. And then when Trump did the whole blockade of Qatar, I felt in danger for my life. I'm like, how is this country going to react to me being here now that this man has done this? So just because I'm not presently there doesn't mean that things that happen in America will not affect me or not affect
Hmm.
those who I know and care about.
Yeah, no, I don't mean disregard for. It's just you can
Mhm.
live, I mean, without some of the things that are going on, you can live your life and um, it's not at the forefront of our minds. You can, I mean, you and I were talking last a couple of weeks ago, and you were apartment hunting, and it's just like we can live, but we can turn on the news, we can vote, we
Mhm.
can talk to our family, and all of that. But I think there is still we can push it to the back burner. Unlike being in our hometown and not being able to, because you'd be confronted with whatever issue. It's a rainy day, it's a snowy day. For Canada, it's a lot of snow, and I'm not missing that so much when it was 40 degrees here yesterday and the day before. So those types of things for me, and I think of different things like taxes and living a little bit freer lives as an ESL teacher, while at the
Yeah.
same time still caring about what we have left behind and knowing we can always go back there. Do you think that you will at one point go back home?
I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't know where I want to go though, because my parents live in South Carolina. I don't want to live there. So it's a retirement state.
Not for everyone,
Uh,
but
yeah. So I wouldn't know where to go.
so
So
what
no,
are
I
you
still
doing now, Lani? I mean, I know you're affected by COVID a little bit, just like I am here, since we're in Asia. Um, when COVID kind of lifts up and you're done your schooling, what is it you'll be back into?
I'm back at work now. I'm a teacher.
You
We're
started out.
all the teaching staff at kindergarten. We're back. We're preparing for the new school year.
Are
The
all of your
kids are going to
students
start.
in?
The kids are going to start September 1st. So yeah, we're back at it.
What does a typical day? What grade are you teaching?
I'm the ESL teacher for kindergarten level 2.
And I know this, but it takes a lot of patience. I mean, it takes patience to do anything in life. It takes a lot of patience to be a teacher, but it takes, in my view, extra patience to be a teacher of kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 students. How 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 do you handle your job? How are you able to deal? And I know you do your job well. I've watched videos of you. I heard how you teach, your methodology, all of everything of what you do about your job, and I appreciate it immensely, because if it wasn't for teachers like you couldn't have a teacher like me, if you would even consider me to be a teacher of grade 3, 4, and 5. So how do you do it so well, and what is your philosophy of teaching?
Well, first, I realized that the older I become, the better teacher I become. And it's not just because of experience, because it is, but it's also because I'm older, I'm more mature, I have like more life experience, my perspective is better. I feel that when I was younger, you have your nerves, you're insecure and this and that, and it makes you less sure of yourself. As you're older, you have it in perspective. But what you say patience, and yeah, I'm like, they're children. This is their first time experiencing
Oh,
all
you
of
have more
this.
pay, right? But listen now, there's some people who would never be able to be a teacher, and
I
they would
don't like.
admit it. It's a fact though. Like some people cannot stand children. They just can't, right? And then for me, from looking at
Mhm.
your perspective, you're dealing with maybe toilet accidents and picking their nose
Yes,
and eating it,
most
like,
definitely. Yes,
like pulling Julie's hair, or like all
yes.
those things. And as a teacher with, how many students are in your class?
25.
There's a big class of those
It
little
is. It is.
creatures, right? And you might not think patience, that just means you have that much more patience than I do, right? You're like, what? It's easy. They're just 25 little kids, and look at them. They're just enjoying life. Well, I don't have what you have. I certainly
You
don't.
know, there's this expression that goes, act your age. And I saw this on a meme somewhere, and I think it's so good. Like the meme was like, "What do you mean by act my age? This is the first time I've ever been this age before. So how am I supposed to act?" So with the kids, it's like I can be patient because they shouldn't. Like they shouldn't be expected to know this. This is why I'm here. But when an adult does something like that, I have no patience for it. So as children, I have patience. We're learning, we're growing.
Well, then
You'll learn better.
you're
But
gracious
for
and kind then.
adults, no.
Yes, you're very gracious with them because I don't think I could do it. I just don't think. And then not only that, being an ESL teacher and trying to, I mean, you studied
Mhm.
Mandarin. I don't know your level of Mandarin, but when you have that barrier, so if you were stateside, or if we were stateside, you have children who have a larger comprehension of what you're saying just
Yes.
based on their home life, where we're missing a lot of that. Right. And
Mhm.
that for me is, I think, a frustrating part where, okay, I want to explain to you what I'm trying to say, but you're not, you don't understand because you don't have some of that backing, and you're dealing with even younger kids who have no idea. So it's to me, it's patience, gracious, and kindness. And I think you're doing a very good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
What sort of advice would you give to some younger people at stateside and Canada, or ESL wannabe people that would like to come overseas? And what would you give for advice for them to venture? Because I mean, I remember when I first came, as you mentioned, it builds your confidence. Well, from being younger, you gain a certain confidence when you first start teaching, and then you gain even more. And some people would think, oh, I don't have that ability to stand in front of kids and teach, or move around and teach. What would you give for advice for people who are thinking of it right out of university?
Well, when I first started teaching, the reason why I wanted to go into teaching was because I didn't like children, and I didn't like public speaking. I really didn't. So I'm like, well, let me be a teacher because with exposure, they may be less alien to
Grow
me.
on
And you
you.
know what?
Yeah.
They are like they're people. They are. They they're younger, they're smaller, they're less experienced, but they're people like with feelings and emotions and ideas. So my experience, my advice to people who are like, well, I don't know, they're weird, I'm afraid. My advice is to do it. I mean, because you're gonna be a teacher, you're gonna be the figure of authority. They're not really gonna question it, especially if they're younger children. They don't really question you in that way. So just do it. The worst that will happen is that you'll have a horrible class. You'll feel horrible about yourself, but then you'll have colleagues to help bolster your spirits and to help you workshop your lesson and do a better job next time. And as for moving overseas, it is difficult, even for a seasoned mover like myself. I think one of the most difficult things ever is moving. Like um, getting rid of the things I have to get rid of, packing suitcases, moving to new, that's difficult. And the first 3 months, 3 to 6 months is
Mm,
so difficult.
it's the
But
hardest time.
after
Yeah. Yeah.
after you get over that hump, after you've built a community, you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what they generally say is, people, if you make it over your first 6 months, you'll be fine. But it's the
Yes.
first, 3 to 6 months, as you're saying, that is the hardest if you've not been away. I mean, probably for you and maybe even me, because I moved a lot as a kid, but within my
Mm-hmm.
own province area. But I was used to moving. If you're not used to moving and you're kind of a homebody, it might even be more difficult. But for you and
Yeah.
I think, having moved a lot and been in and out of different houses, but as I said to you a couple of weeks ago, my dear wife, she moved a lot and she hates moving. It doesn't matter if it's across the street. And there's an adage that says it doesn't matter if you're moving across the street or across the world, it's still just as difficult. There's all of that stuff that goes into it, makes it so hard. Lonnie, what would you like people, maybe even moms or dads, to understand what it's like that they probably don't understand and appreciate, what it's like to be a teacher, to be in your shoes, teaching their children? What would you like some parents to understand, or even some, would be parents that will be growing up and having kids and hearing from a teacher's perspective? something that they don't understand and appreciate about your position?
I would like parents to know that being very horrible to a teacher is not going to make that teacher want to help your child more. I've had
That's a
some
very
lovely,
nice
lovely
way.
children.
That's a very nice
Yes,
way of saying.
I've had some lovely, lovely children with very difficult parents. And I had to overcome my feelings for the parents just to continue to be there for
For
that
that
child.
child.
Because it's not the child's fault that the parents are acting this in a way. And the professional in me is like, it's not that child's fault. They deserve the best from me. Always. Always. But like, I just really want parents to know that them screaming at teachers, sometimes their feelings may be merited. Sometimes they may be merited, right? But with anything, it's how you communicate to get the result you want, which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, maybe the louder parents are to the teacher, the quieter we may be to those students. But it's tough. It does have an effect. I mean, and then we have to try to understand that some parents, and I do it as a parent, I think I know what's right for my kids, and then if it has
Yes.
something to do with a teacher or someone else that I'm trying to express that want or desire of my child, I may not say it in the right way. And from your perspective as a teacher, who you're hearing this sort of stuff from people all the time, or you know what the parents really know is best, but you know, parents don't always know. I heard one guy say that after having teenage to young children, say 10 to 18-year-old kids, he said, you know what I learned after having 5 children? I think he said 5 daughters. He goes, I don't know anything about being a parent. Right. But and like he, you know, was probably a relatively good parent, but it just like you learn so much and you don't know, even though you think this is going to be the best thing for them, but it doesn't always turn out that way. And they go in a totally different path. So when we're fighting for our kids, the teacher is the one who's hearing about it. And it may not be the best person to voice your concern about your desires for Johnny or Julie.
Yeah. No, I understand about advocating because it's so important to have someone advocate for you. Because, like I was saying, in this course, I've been advocating for myself. And I feel that when I do advocate for myself, I come with the facts, I come with the data, I come with the receipts. Like, now let's have a discussion.
Well, Lani, I can attest to that because actually I think you and I have been in one another's corner for the whole time we were in the program. And if it wasn't you, it was me. We were fighting for one another and the other teachers in the group, like trying to make it as equal and fair and to our advantage the best way possible. But that's the good thing to do, right? And then you have people in groups or in situations where they may not say anything, and even though they're thinking the same thing, you need someone to step up. And I found that you did that very well, and you spoke on my behalf many times, and I truly appreciate what you did and what you're doing. And I know with taking this program that you're probably in that group as well, making sure that things are led the right way and the way that it was advertised to be.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm standing
You
up
could
for
be drained.
myself.
Yeah, I
No,
mean, you
no,
might be.
I'm advocating for myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I was vocal once or twice to the whole group, but everyone else's group was like, they didn't want to say anything. I'm like, you know what? I am not going to fight for you if you will not fight for yourself, but I will make sure
I
that
get
I fight for myself. Exactly. And so I have, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And now the others, this is the last VC, this is the last class, mind you. Now the others are speaking up, oh, I should have said this, I should have said, I'm like, yeah, you should have.
Yeah, we got some things accomplished. I know we did.
We did.
What is a joy that you have of teaching your little ones, the grade 2s, and I'm sure you get some 1s in there, maybe some 3s. What is a joy that you have in teaching?
Putting forth a great lesson, having them be so excited to learn, and having them remember something I taught them and have it be an effect in their life. I had this one class, this is when I was working at a training school. I had this one class This child I had from when he was 8 to when he was 12. My God, that was a long time, 4 years, right? But I could see him
Mm-hmm.
grow. And then he brings up some grammar structure and or some sentence or phrase or something. I'm like, where did you learn that? He's like, Miss Lani, don't you remember? You taught it to me back in the first. I'm like, did I? Wow. Okay. Great
That's
memory.
great, eh? That
It is. It really is.
I remember when my daughter was in grade 2, and I had a parent-teacher meeting, and I went and sat with the teacher, and they bring us in like the little kids' desk where they sit the kids in the classroom, which is fine. It just gives you this perspective. And after the meeting, it was 5-10 minutes or something. I said, why do you teach? And her answer, it was the French. We put our daughter in the French immersion class, but she spoke English well. And she said, it's because when at the beginning of the year, and maybe it was grade 1, it was grade 1. She goes, because at the beginning of the year, you generally don't know how to read, but at the end of the year, they can read. And that was for her the big thing. And I'm like, that is huge, because when you get up into grade 5, 6, any of these other grades, while some kids have difficulty reading, I have difficulty reading many times now. And people, as they get older, you can't see those, the increments are not as refined as being able to see what they can go from not reading at all to sitting down and reading something.
I had this one student. This is my K2 class. So these are 4 going on 5-year-olds, right? And when we first started, we're teaching the, A, A, B, B, the phonics of it all, and then C, D, C words. And at the end, he drew me a picture, and under it, he wrote something. It's like, pensions. And I'm like looking at this word, right? He's so proud because he wrote it himself. And I'm trying to pronounce it, oh, pencilmation, right? He's so pen, P-N, show,
Yeah.
S-H-L, no I, M-T-I-O-N. I'm like, oh, pencilmation. This is one of his favorite cartoons. And then he wrote it. It was completely incorrect, but phonetically you can make it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Phonetically you can make it out. I'm like, oh my, and I felt so proud. And he was so proud. I'm like, look at that. Using your phonics.
It is. Those are the wonders of teaching. And I'm not a good teacher, and I haven't been doing it that long. But when you get little moments when a student says to you, you taught me that when, 4 years
Yeah.
ago, or here's the thing, those are those moments that I find are most gravitating to the field of education. When
Mm-hmm.
students get something that you have taught, and they repeat it back to you, or they show it to you in a piece of work,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just something to it that your heart elevates, and you're like, I'm doing it, this is the
Yeah.
right thing. Do you
And
think that?
Brian, please don't say you're not a good teacher because you don't sell yourself short.
Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on
Are we
being a
all
better
though?
we're working on being a better teacher.
That's all teachers, hopefully.
It's not an easy gig. It's teachers get, teachers, they say, get the short end of the stick a lot, but I think people who have a value of education understand the value of teachers. And I think COVID nowadays, there's a running joke that there's more parents appreciate teachers now that their kids are home all the time, and you have
Yes.
some parents saying, or some children saying, I want to fire my teacher. I quit because it's their mom or their dad. And it's
Mm-hmm.
it is there's truth in it, though. There's a value in teachers, and there's teachers like you who, obviously, you've done your education in the United States. You've done extra programs all on your own. There's no one pushing you to do what you do. What is your motivation, Lani? What is driving you?
To do what I do, well, whatever I do, I want to do it well, um, for my benefit. And as a teacher, I want to do the best job for my students as possible because I remember when I was a student, I want my teachers to have done well by me. And for these students growing up who are under my care, I want to do the best for them because no matter what's going on, maybe they have a horrible home life, at least they could feel safe and emboldened in like the school could be their safe haven.
Yeah.
They could let their imaginations run wild at school. Like, I want to provide that space for them. I want to provide a space where they can be the best that they can be.
And I really
That's
believe
what motivates me in that arena.
I really believe you're doing that too, because I know we shared assignments and projects together and we had to critique one another. And
Mm-hmm.
yours were always so creative. I'm like, this girl, and other teachers too, but like, this girl is making this stuff up. There's no way she's trying to get these kids to be this creative and think and like you have all these things, and they amaze me because I'm like, okay, kids, repeat after me. Hey, but you have these big projects that they're wonderful for kids, and that shows that you're putting in the work and you're dedicated to
Mm-hmm.
your craft and the thing that you're doing and that you're doing well. Lani, how can people get in contact with you about teaching or traveling overseas, and if you want them to contact you?
No, they can't. One of my friends, now this is a good friend of mine. He contacted me a few months ago. He was like, I was so afraid, because I've been trying to contact you for the past 6 months. You were not on WhatsApp. You're not on WeChat. You're not on Facebook. He's like, I was afraid that I lost contact with you forever. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I like it. But here I am.
Here I am,
He's
you
like, well,
found
can
me.
you come to my wedding? I'm like, I'd love to. And this is a good friend of mine. So I am very wary of social media.
I know you are. That's why I added the last part.
Usually, like, I do have an email, and my friends can contact me via that. If I'm not responding to anything, know that I got your email and I'll get back to you. But
Or even if you have a suggestion on where someone could find a job in ESL, or how maybe you first got your contact.
my first one was to my TESOL certification program.
Yep.
Because after doing TESOL, they arranged me to get a job with EF, now known as Education First, which is a training institution. And you know what? They're a phenomenal training institution.
Yeah.
Like, they will train you how to be a good teacher if you allow them to. And then I kind of moved on from there. So that was the language core. I think Dave's ESL Cafe is also a good resource.
I wish they would make
For
that site more aesthetically
yeah.
pleasing. It just seems like one horrible blog, but there's a ton of information on there. There's
There
like
is.
Dave's ESL.
Like, yeah, some of the jobs on there, like, some of the schools aren't that reputable and this and that, but there are a ton of jobs. You just have to do your research on them. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, Lani, on in respect of working as a teacher, your experience of traveling many years of your life, and even professional development as you're nearing the end of your master's degree? Is there anything you'd like to add for advice for people? Especially those people looking into work. They don't have to be teachers, but just people maybe discouraged about working, it's hard to find a job for them.
I think my piece of advice is don't be afraid to do things by yourself. I know so many people who want to go for a friend or family, who wants to have a connection in the place they're going to. And if you're waiting for someone else, you may be waiting forever. Don't be afraid of doing something for yourself, and know that if everything works out horribly, try to be confident in yourself to know that both of getting yourself out of whatever situation you may find yourself in.
So
because
true.
you most likely are capable. And the odds of something going horribly, in my opinion, is very low, because after living in so many countries, traveling so many places, I find that people, generally speaking, are lovely. Like, governments may fight and bicker and be horrible. People, generally speaking, are lovely and very helpful.
And on that, what I think you may agree to is, even though you're traveling alone or going at it alone, you're going to find some people you can lean on, people that you'll find, whether it's like, it may not look the same as where you are at home. you know, the friend that you can tell everything to, or the family member that's always there, but you'll be able to find bits and pieces of that as you go and spread your wings.
Most definitely. Like one of my people is Brian over here. He lent an ear to me as I was having an emotional. I needed a shoulder to cry, and he was that shoulder, and you were awesome. So thank you.
Well,
And we met like we've never even met in person, and here he is being there for me. So thank you, Brian.
I know we've talked, you've and I have talked more than many of my best friends over the last year. We have talked a lot, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Lani, how do you find rest? What do you do in your rest
Please
time? What is that? You want to be
expand on
defined?
that.
Would you like me to
What does that
define that for
mean?
you? What
Yes, please. I'm
rest?
not understanding. I
Rest.
don't
We
understand
started this
exactly.
in last year, but rest. You must find some rest. Come on now. I was talking to you the other day and you were at a restaurant. You were using the Wi-Fi at the restaurant. We were trying to talk and it was quite
Yeah, but I wasn't resting because I was having an emotional episode. So that's not
a
restful.
little. You were out there first though. You're at the restaurant. Unless
But
you
I
were
had to
just like
eat.
eating.
I had to eat.
You're just eating food to drown your sorrows,
Exactly.
which were not
So
huge sorrows. I'm not making fun of the sorrows that you had. I said you reminded me of my dear wife.
um, I
When you're not busy,
actually asked me
what do
for
you like to
this.
do? You
No, but
exercise?
I don't call that rest though. It is a type of activity and it's enjoyable.
Hmm.
I'm not the best person to speak on this because I tend to go until I collapse. Like it could be work or it could be my mini activities. I have a lot of activities I love and I just want to do everything. I push myself and I push myself and then I just collapse. I just like lay on my couch. I can't do anything. So
What are
I'm
some
not
of
the
your
best
activities that you
person to ask
enjoy
us
doing when you're not
doing.
working? Yeah.
Dragon boating. I like dragon boating.
What is
I like,
is that like getting these Chinese boats and like rowing?
yep. We call it
You can do
paddling.
it? That's is it
Yeah.
is there a dragon on the front?
Yes, there is.
Okay, you're hardcore. Like you're you're living culturally over there. You're not. I'm going
I
dragon
am.
today.
I try. I dance. I swing. I'm a swing dancer, so that's fun.
What is a swinging dancer?
Um, what is a swing dance? And it's an umbrella term. There's Lindy Hop, Balboa, Shag, lot like so. I do those types of
You
dances.
just started speaking Mandarin to me because I have no idea what you just said. After swinging, I was
Well,
what?
your viewers can look it up later.
Okay, maybe I might have to look it up if it's.
um,
But you're doing a lot of things, right? That's rest.
exactly. And a lot of active things, like physically demanding things.
Hmm.
And I do yoga, which is also very physically demanding. So I do a lot of physically demanding things. I love it. But then at some point, my body's like, you have to rest. I'm like, but I enjoy all these things so much. And my body's like, no, I'm not gonna let you. And so this is something I have to work on. I have to work on saying no, and I have to work on really giving myself time to rest. Because work as a teacher is tiring. At the end of the day, you're tired. But then I'm like, but I have to get energy because I have to go dancing. I
Yeah,
have to get energy because I have to do yoga
it's a
or
different tired,
martial
right?
arts.
Yeah, your minds get tired, and your bodies need some
Mm-hmm.
activity.
Yeah, and honestly, I do sometimes just collapse, and I'm like, it's not healthy. So I need to work on saying no to things
Well, Lani,
and resting more.
well then take that advice. I mean, I don't know what the definition of rest is. I'm just asking what it is. I like to run or do some activities. To me, that's rest. It's not from outside of work. I guess anything that you like to
Okay.
do outside of work, and in some way, I guess it rests your body so that you can have a nice, peaceful and restful sleep. Maybe not. Lani, I appreciate your time here. I have one more question. If the viewers here
Yes,
would
sir.
subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button, and find Why We Work, I would appreciate that. Lani, final question. Why do you work?
Um, Most simple answer, I need money to live and pursue my interest. That is the
Pursue
most basic answer. I
what?
could build on that, but
No, that was good. What was the
that's why I
second one?
started working.
Build on what? Sorry, after
Build on
making
my
money.
interests.
Build up your
Build
interest.
on my interests, yeah.
That
Pursue my interests.
I mean, without money, you probably can't go dragon boat racing.
Nope.
No yoga.
Live
No
in the
mindset
apartment I'm
activities.
living in now.
I know you're living on the hog now. You're living in a penthouse now, from my understanding.
One would, yeah, I say.
But that's the reason we work, is to do some of these things. Whether it's, have you ever bought a car in China? Is that possible? I've never asked anyone.
It's possible. I wouldn't want to.
No, it's
It's
tough
not
driving.
a good use of my money.
Then you're wise. Well, Lani, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure you and I will be talking again. And take care. And I know that you're a great teacher, and all of this extra stuff is just, as you said at the beginning, maybe for your resume, because you're already doing it. You're a dedicated teacher, willing to do all that you can to help children grow. And I thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lani. Bye-bye.
Bye.